Okay, let's see what our move for the day is involving. All right, we are going to be talking about Yolanda. Let's see what move involves Yolanda. Okay, this problem says Yolanda made 11 sandwiches for a picnic. She used 2 pieces of bread for each sandwich. Which strip diagram can be used to find the number of pieces of bread Yolanda used? Now, as you notice, none of the answer choices provide a direct answer. In fact, each of the answer choices is shown in a strip diagram format. So not only are students going to have to know the correct move or mathematical process, they're going to have to be able to interpret what the strip diagram is representing. So if you have not done so, I recommend you look at the What's the Move series that I've posted, because I go over the 4 different operations, which are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And I also show the different ways in which those operations can be represented. Anytime that every single answer choice is some sort of picture or representation, I strongly recommend that students make their own picture so that they can come up with their own understanding of what's taking place in the problem. So that's why I have the extra space on the left so that I can do just that. We're going to go back through this problem sentence by sentence, making sure that we come up with how to represent this problem. Doing so will help better match what you are doing or your understanding of what you are doing to an answer choice. So looking at the first sentence again, it says Yolanda made 11 sandwiches for a picnic. At the end of every sentence, I ask students what is important out of that particular sentence. In this case, the important detail is that Yolanda made 11 sandwiches. Once we determine what's important out of the problem, I have students represent that. So how could we represent 11 sandwiches in a way that we understand? I'm going to do boxes because sandwiches usually come in like a square shape. So I'm going to make 11 boxes. Once I've come up with a way to represent that information, I'm going to check it off. I've represented that. Now I'm ready to move on to the next sentence. The next sentence says she used 2 pieces of bread for each sandwich. So again, I ask, what is important out of that sentence? When we think about that sentence, the important detail would be that she used 2 pieces of bread for each of the sandwiches. Now, at this point, we actually stop and talk about the role that the object we're referring to plays in the problem and how it connects to math. So I ask, when making a sandwich, how do we use the bread? Students should come up with that the bread is put on top or bottom of whatever ingredients you're using for the sandwich. So it's used to cover the ingredients. It goes on the sandwich. So I asked them to connect it to math. So to help them connect it to the representation, I would ask, how can we apply those 2 pieces of bread to the picture that we've already created? Well, there's several ways you can do this, but to help it match more to what the answer choices look like, we're going to put the number 2 on each square to represent the 2 pieces of bread that go on each of our 11 sandwiches. Once I've represented that, I'm going to check that off. Well, that leads me to what the question is asking for. Which strip diagram can be used to find the number of pieces of bread Yolanda used? Now again, before I go to the strip diagrams, I want to solve this problem myself based off of my picture. How many pieces of bread did Yolanda use? Based off of my picture, I have created a scenario in which I am going to repeatedly join two pieces of bread, two pieces of bread, two pieces of bread. That repeated joining, that repeated addition is actually a representation of multiplication. How do I know that? The boxes that I've created represent groups. A sandwich is a group of two pieces of bread with ingredients in the middle put together. How many of those groups did I create? I created 11 groups. Within each of those 11 groups, I have two pieces of bread. So I have essentially 11 groups of two. When I think of 11 groups of two, I'm thinking of 11 times 2. So I'm thinking of counting by twos 11 times. That would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So Yolanda is using 22 pieces of bread. Now, although I found my correct answer to the number of pieces of bread, I still have to match that to the representations. I want the representation that shows 22 pieces of bread. When we look at our answer choices in thinking about the components of a strip diagram, one thing I notice here is that question mark is where the total should go. There is no total here. So that actually helps me figure out what types of math this could be representing. The only two types of math that I have to actually find the total are adding or multiplication. This has to represent either adding or multiplying, because in both of those types of math, I have to combine to find the total. So I need to look at what is being combined in the answer choice to help me figure out which one it's representing. Well, I'm seeing boxes. There are 1, 2, 3. I do see 11 boxes. So there are 11 groups. Well, that matches what I have. I do have 11 groups as well. But look at what's in each group. In each group, there are 11 of something. Does that match our representation? No, it doesn't. Our representation is 11 groups of 2, or 11 times 2. This representation is showing 11 groups of 11, or 11 times 11. So this is a multiplication scenario, and yes, we did multiply, but this does not match what is being represented by this problem. So F is not our answer. Okay, if we look at answer choice G, as we can see, where the total should be, there is a question mark, which means I am either adding or multiplying. Okay, I can see two boxes. Those two boxes are the same size, so they must represent groups. How many groups are there? 2. There are 2 groups. Okay, what is in each group is the number 2. So that's 2 groups of 2, which means this picture represents 2 times 2. Does this match my representation? No, it does not, because this is showing 2 times 2, and my representation or my understanding of the problem is 11 times 2. So that doesn't match. Let's look at answer choice H. Just as with answer choice F and G, where the total should be, there's a question mark. Okay, that means we're either adding or multiplying. Now with this particular scenario, I do see 2 boxes, but those 2 boxes are not the same size. So this does not represent groups, because when we have groups, they are the same size. Since these are not the same size, I know that the math that involving groups is not the math that this is showing. So this is not multiplication. This is actually addition that's being shown here. I am combining 2 with 11. I am joining 2 with 11. And that's what these lines down here indicate as well. I'm combining them to make a total. So this represents 2 plus 11. Does that match what my picture represents? No. Okay, let's look at our last answer choice, which is answer choice J. Okay, we have our total missing. That means we are adding or multiplying. Okay, I see that there are boxes, and those boxes are all the same size. So that means those boxes represent groups. How many groups? So I can see this picture where it has 11 groups. So does my representation. I can see this has 11 groups. So does my representation. What is in each group? Well, I see in every group there are 2 of something. So this picture is showing me 11 groups of 2, which means it is showing me 11 times 2. It is not addition because my number is being repeated. It's a special kind of addition. Repeated addition is actually multiplication. Does this match my idea of what this problem represents? Yes, it does. And therefore, it is my correct answer. Remember, this new type of math is not just about coming up with the answer. It's about understanding the problem in a different way and making sure your understanding matches the different representations that are displayed. Again, if you have not done so, make sure you go over my What's the Move series. I talk about each of the operations and the different ways that students are seeing this displayed at school. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Everybody take care.